Hey, welcome back to Pop Culture Graveyard. I am Hollis, and today I'm bringing you Hollis's Lockdown Movie Guide, a magnificent 7 of my favorite movies to watch while on lockdown. Now, I'm not talking my favorite movies of all time, so you won't see Jaws, or Moonstruck, or Cruising, but what you will find are my favorite movies that go best with this horrible thing we call the lockdown. Don't serve time, make time serve you. A magnificent 7. Quick shout out to all my friends who have recently fled New York. I hear you, baby. I've been living my life as if it were on lockdown for years, so this was a hard list to make. A lot of candidates. First, a few runner-ups. The Great Escape, 1963. At first, it's hard to think of a better lockdown movie than The Great Escape, but it's a little too much testosterone, and it's also got one of the most depressing endings in films, so it's not going to make you feel better about a lockdown. Another runner-up, Rio Bravo, featuring John Wayne, Dean Martin, and Ricky Nelson. This is a classic movie by Howard Hawks, of course. It's an excellent movie anytime, but during the lockdown, you're going to want to hang out with these guys. First of all, it takes them most of the movie to figure out that they should just hole up in the jailhouse, and their life would be a lot better. One of them's got a girl on the outside, one of them's going through the DTs from liquor withdrawal, and one is a teen heartthrob, just trying to get along. You want eye candy? It's got an in her prime Angie Dickinson. You want more eye candy? It's got an in his prime Ricky Nelson. I don't know what you're into. That's right, Ozzie and Harriet's little boy is all grown up and wearing his big boy chaps. Assless? John Wayne was in a bigger siege movie, The Alamo, but Rio Bravo is a far better movie, with a much happier ending. If you see only one John Wayne film, well, that should be The Searchers. Quiet Man is good. If you see a few John Wayne films, make Rio Bravo one of them. Another runner-up, Waiting for Guffman. Broadway is dark right now. So is off-Broadway. So is off-Broadway. So is regional and community theater. So is that comedy show in the back of that bar that no one goes to. So this sweet, ridiculously charming Christopher Guest movie is a rare chance to see on-stage entertainment during this lockdown. This movie captures the sesquicentennial celebration of the founding of Blaine, Missouri, the stool capital of the USA, culminating in the stage extravaganza, Red, White, and Blaine. We could all use a laugh right now, and this has quite a few of them. A magnificent 7. The best movies to watch while on lockdown. Neighbors. After many years of blissfully ignoring each other, chances are you're probably getting to know your next-door neighbors a little better during this lockdown. This downbeat black comedy perfectly sums up the suspicion, envy, and awkwardness that invariably appears whenever two households are thrown together by something as arbitrary as one of them moving into the old Warren place next door. This is all about a guy who commutes to work every day and doesn't really know much about his wife or the life that they lead. Then the neighbors move in and all hell breaks loose. This is a real acquired taste. This was supposed to be a powerhouse comedy movie for Columbia. It's from a best-selling novel by Thomas Berger. It had the perfect director, John G. Avildsen, coming off the success of blockbuster Rocky. It had two of the biggest TV stars of all time, in John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. It had an Emmy Award-winning writer, Larry Gelbart, from the hit TV show MASH. The production team of Zanuck and Brown, who brought you Jaws, brings you this. It had every chance to succeed. What could go wrong? Everything. Turns out the director doesn't understand comedy at all. His idea of comedy is putting a ridiculous soundtrack over a very boring scene. The two principal stars, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, while in pre-production, decided to switch parts. So Aykroyd is playing the Belushi part and Belushi is playing the Aykroyd part. And the entire time you're watching this movie, you're like, guys, switch back, switch back. Belushi and Aykroyd severely rewrote Gelbart's script, so much so that Gelbart was sniping in the press that he hated it. John Avildsen brought in his buddy, Bill Conti, who did the Rocky theme. Bill Conti turns in, how can I say this tactfully, the worst soundtrack of all time. Why am I including this movie? It's a fascinating movie you can't look away from. You'll find this movie really grows on you. Like a fungus. Not an overstatement. Quirky little comedy that could, but didn't. Since we're talking lockdown, there's no more than 10 characters in this movie. And I'm including the dog. For better or worse, they don't make movies like this anymore. Some of you may prefer The Burbs, but for me this is the far better neighborhood to wind up in. The feeling of claustrophobia and paranoia in here is very real. And I think it's very lockdown friendly. Up next, Sunset Boulevard. This is a classic movie. Again, it goes down smooth any time of year. But during the lockdown, this is especially poignant. This perfectly showcases when two people with diverging agendas have to spend time together in the same house. William Holden's Joe Gillis is pretty much on lockdown through most of this Billy Wilder classic, while he lives as the boy toy for the much older Norma Desmond. Mad about the boy, Norma. In the beginning of the film, Joe is pretty much like us, 9 months ago, tooling around town in our convertible, making phone calls at the drugstore, dodging finance collectors, and going to monkey funerals. This film is a subtle reminder that you can have a big mansion, an expensive car, and a beautiful swimming pool. But if you're not sharing all those things with the right person, someone could wind up dead. So there's a lockdown message for us all. Okay, bad analogy. We're going to be fine. Incidentally, we're smack dab in the middle of Noir-vember, so this may be the most noir-friendly film on my list. Up next, Scarface. At its heart, this is a charming coming-of-age tale about a simple man who gets expelled from a tiny country with universal health care, only to fulfill his dream of founding one of the largest for-profit pharmaceutical businesses in the USA. Al Pacino's performance as Tony Montana is mesmerizing and a little racist. Whether you're watching it for the first time or the 100th, I dare you not to speak in a Tony Montana voice for about a week after you watch this film. Tony started out just like the rest of us. He's washing dishes, he's dodging bullets, he's killing people, he's in nightclubs watching really, really weird acts. He's sexually attracted to his sister. To the limit! He's haranguing a blonde into marrying him. He's got an exciting life. Does he have a pet cheetah in it? I want to say he has a pet cheetah. But all that excitement is short-lived. Before long, Tony is holed up in his mansion just like the rest of us, where his life consists of watching security camera feeds, taking bubble baths, power-snorting yayo, and playing with his little friend. I really hope our lockdown ends better than Tony's. Next up, Cannonball Run. We could all use an escape right now, and it doesn't get more escapist than a car race from sea to shining sea. It seems we only get to feel free these days whenever we're driving in our car, running out for wink wink essential errands. This 1981 comedy pulls out all the stops. It's a star-studded extravaganza featuring Farrah Fawcett, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Pittsburgh Steeler Terry Bradshaw, international film star Jackie Chan, and that's just the first 10 minutes. The main racers we follow here are Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise. These two guys loved each other, and it's very easy to see on screen. It was directed by super stuntman Hal Needham. Incidentally, the friendship between star Burt Reynolds and director Hal Needham was the direct inspiration for the relationship between Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This movie is from the early 80s, so it is somewhat dated. But for people of a certain age, this was the go-to movie on those nights when your parents let you alone and left you some money for pizza, and you were too young to rent porn. So you're going to want to check this out. It is a hot, fast movie, because much like Sammy Hagar, these folks can't drive 55. Cannonball. Staying with comedies, Murder by Death. This is another great escapist film. This is the true story of 5 detectives picked to live in a house, work together, and have their lives taped to find out what happens when people stop being polite and start killing each other. This movie is from 1976. As you could tell, Columbo was very big at the time, so the box art reflects that. This movie is written by Neil Simon, and prior to Airplane, this had the most jokes in it of any comedy that I can think of. Some people like Clue, which scratches a few of the same itches. Some people like chess, some people like checkers. But for me, it doesn't get better than this. An insane criminal millionaire invites the world's best-known detectives to his mansion on a stormy night that isn't really stormy, to challenge them all to solve a murder that is yet to be committed. That's a setting. He immediately puts them all on lockdown, barring the windows and locking the doors. We're stuck in a house with these people, and we don't mind one bit. A personal favorite of mine since I was a kid, Neil Simon's Murder by Death has a star-studded cast with irreverent dialogue and shrewd skewering of detective novel tropes. Okay, the performance of Peter Sellers as the Chinese detective is a little problematic today. But people forget, there was a time when Peter Sellers played everyone, from mafia thugs to Indian actors to the Queen of England. When casting a comedy, if you could get Peter Sellers, you got Peter Sellers. He was the list. Female role? Put him in a dress. Ethnic role? Put makeup on him. We got Peter Sellers. Now that said, it doesn't excuse his fake teeth. That's not cool. Now, if you can excuse that, there's lots to love here. You'll fall in love with its spooky funhouse mansion of a setting, its over-the-top characters, and delicious acting performances. I'm a big Peter Falk guy, so of course I love his performance of the Sam Spade ripoff. James Coco steals this film from me. He's not a Frenchie, he's a Belgie. I loved it as a kid, I still love it. Until there's a cure, this'll get you there. Up next, I Am Legend. Finally, someone is working on a cure for something. I Am Legend. I was originally going to feature The Omega Man, starring Charlton Heston, which is taken from the same source material, Richard Matheson's novel, I Am Legend, as the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. However, whereas Charlton Heston is simply shooting people throughout the entire movie as if it's one long audition to be NRA spokesman, Will Smith's Robert Neville is actually trying to cure this thing. And I think that's a much more positive message. If you can excuse the terrible CGI, and that's a big if, that creates the Dark Seekers, who are the malevolent beings in the movie, and the bane of Will Smith's Robert Neville, the movie, and especially Will Smith's performance, is very well done. Matheson's novel was actually done 3 times. The first time was The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price back in the 60s. And that was the first time they made Robert a scientist, which he is not in a novel, he works in a factory. In I Am Legend, the ending of this is fairly upbeat given the downbeat nature of the entire tale. And that's because it cuts out the major point of the novel, which is that Robert Neville, aka Will Smith's character, is the plague upon the land. He is the one thing that does not fit. He is the legend that all of these beings will be telling for generations of these dark seekers to come. He is their vampire. In the novel, he realizes this. In the movie, he does not. It's kind of a Christian theme in the movie, which is disturbing. In any case, you could do a lot worse than a 1-2 punch with the Heston and Will Smith versions of this movie. Up next, The Thing. Probably the ultimate lockdown movie. It doesn't get more lockdown than 12 guys stuck in Antarctica. These guys find an alien buried in the snow for 100,000 years and unwittingly unleash it on themselves, where it soon begins taking each of them over. The thing about this lockdown is, it's made us all a little paranoid about catching you-know-what. Who's got it? Have you got it? Has she got it? Who took this Uber before me? Have they got it? Mask it or casket, baby. All this current collective paranoia has already been explored ad nauseum in John Carpenter's The Thing. This remake of the 1951 horror sci-fi classic has all of the suspense and tension of the original, but none of the levity or pressure release. This is a slow burn to madness, and I think we can all relate to this film more and more these days. The special effects are delicious. Some of the creature transformations and gory special effects will make you laugh these days. So it's got a little bit of that. Kurt Russell is amazing in this. As Kurt Russell's MacReady says in this film, somebody ain't what he appears to be. Who goes there? It ain't Fuchs. That is at the heart of the paranoia. Much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the creature in The Thing really keeps you on your toes, because you've gotta sleep sometime. Like a lot of the other movies on this list, this one goes down good anytime. But during the lockdown, this is your bread and butter. One of John Carpenter's best films, possibly his best film. And it even features music by the inimitable Ennio Morricone. Do not sleep on this. And do not sleep, period. That is it. Magnificent 7 of lockdown movies. I hope you found this helpful and/or entertaining. If so, please subscribe, and I will see you next week with a lot more cool stuff.